Welcome back into another episode of George in the Jungle, presented as always by Remington Tavern, coming at you live from the Cincy Light Studios. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can check them out on Instagram at RemyTavCincy or follow them on Facebook. That is REMITAV Cincy with a Y. Be sure while you're there to grab an ice cold Cincy Light on draft, in a can, however you prefer. Sports people who support us. Have a good time in your local establishment while doing so. All right, George.
Yes, sir.
Snowmageddon hit us since we last talked.
Awful. This stuff's like waist high, and it's not going anywhere for the next 10 days, probably.
Because it's frigid outside right now.
Brutal. Now I'm starting to wonder or understand more why old people go to Florida and stay there.
I don't know why anyone ever settled up north. Like I ask my mom all the time, what were you thinking? You guys could have gone anywhere. Dad was in the military. You could have gone anywhere. You went to Ohio.
You like the seasons.
I guess.
You got people up here. I would miss basketball games and stuff like that.
You got seasons in Florida. You got hot. You've got hotter. You've got hot as balls. And then you get exactly. And then you get back to hot. It's fine.
Right. I was just down there a couple of weeks ago, and it was perfect weather. Nothing.
Well, George, perfect weather down south, but it's a little turbulent here, and also in Arizona, where Cincinnati had their last two games. You start off against Arizona, and you lose that one 77-51. If you didn't watch the aftermath, George, you missed me losing my whole mind. Largely because I felt that the game was refereed horrendously, putting it lightly. But it just didn't seem that what was called one way was called both ways. Not to get lost in that conversation again, because I pretty much lost my whole mind for about 15 minutes on that, to the point where I'm pretty sure that every Arizona fan that found our podcast, they hate me. Like, legitimately hate. They're showing up in comments on the Arizona State game saying that, well, you got what you deserved, guy on the right.
That's funny. That is funny. Yeah. It sure seemed like they got bullied a little bit in that second half, but, you're down, 4 at halftime? Is that what it was there? Or 6? 6 to Arizona. And that second half was just an abject disaster in every way, shape, and form. And I don't know, Aaron. It's what we've been talking about. I mean, it's just, your guards don't shoot well. They're in big trouble, despite what, Baba Miller gives them down low or from his position. He plays very well, but it just doesn't seem like everyone around him catches on and does the same. And boy, that was, a road trip Day Thomas would love to forget about, because you talk about a disappearing act after what we saw against Iowa State. Man, oh man. He wasn't the only one, but boy, that's just, wow. He's in a funk. And the whole team is when it comes to shooting. I mean, they didn't shoot the ball worth a nickel out there.
Yeah, Day between Arizona and Arizona State, he goes 1 for 14 in both games combined. Very unlike him. We've not seen him at times this season. We've not seen him be as aggressive as we've seen him at other times. But this was horrible. And didn't get much better with Jizzle, as he went 5 of 14 for both games, combining for a grand total of 10 points.
So they were a whopping 6 of 28 out there. Am I reading that right?
What is
Day 1 of 14, and then wow.
Day was one of 14, and Jizzle was
So
5 of 14.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, one of those games, I think it was maybe the Arizona State game. No, Arizona, that Harris didn't score either, right? Or not from the field.
He had 1 point. He was 0 for 4 with one free throw.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do that in college basketball and have your guards shoot it that poorly and play that poorly and win against teams like that, against Arizona or Arizona State on their floor for that matter. And they had really been struggling. But, that first half gave you a lot of hope too. That's what made it even more better is they played well in that first half. And they really did a good job defensively in that first half against Arizona. I mean, I don't know what the score was at halftime. I don't have that written down. You may have it in front of you, but they did a good job against them. They held their point total down.
I'm trying to find the halftime score here.
But I know in the second half, it was just a complete explosion. And some of it could be, yes, maybe there were some calls that they didn't get and Arizona was getting. But, when you look at what was points in the paint in that game, 48-14, 17 to 1 points off turnovers. I mean, that just
33-27.
What's that?
33-27 was your halftime score.
Okay. So they held them to 33, which is good for that team. I mean, that's a team that averages about 90, right?
Well, their lowest point total in conference play had been 84.
So, yeah. So that's a heck of a first half by UC. I just don't understand why you play that well in the first half. And, you're playing a damn good team on the road and you're going blow by blow with them. And I just don't understand how it gets so out of hand in the second half and you just completely lose it like they did. I mean, it just but we've seen that.
Well, I mean, outside of Baba Miller, your starters combined for a grand total of 12 points. Baba had 14, so he outscored all other 4 starters by himself, not by much, and not with a very large score himself. That's horrible. That said, you had Sean Abayev, who had 9 points in the first half.
Had a really good first half. That's the best he's looked in a while.
Ends up with 13 in this game. For whatever reason, he only gets 8 minutes in the second half. He totaled 18 minutes in the game, but for a guy who the second leading scorer on the team, you wonder why maybe he didn't get a little bit more run in the second half.
I cannot tell you why. I mean, some of it the way the game's going and maybe some stuff that was going on defensively, but no, I thought he played, his best half in a while in that first half. He looked like he was a plus, and I haven't felt that way for a while about him.
While on the plus minus, he was not a plus. He was one of the lower Bearcats with a minus of 7, as opposed to, minus 25 for Baba, minus 20 for Day, minus 17 for Jizzle. But yeah, I mean, Mustafa Cham gets 5, Sincere Harris gets 1, Jizzle James gets 4, Day gets 2. That's out of your starters. You're not going to win a game when you're getting 12 points out of 4 of your starters, and the other starter who's in double figures is only at 14.
Yeah, and you're not going to win a lot of games that way, especially against a team like Arizona, and especially against darn near any team on the road. I mean, it's just you got to play better than that, and they haven't been doing it. And, that's why the seat gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and I would say it's more than blazing right now, and it is getting to the point where this administration is going to have to be very proactive if they already haven't been.
Yeah, you shot 30% from the field in against Arizona, 19% from three. That's just terrible. Moving on to Arizona State, didn't get a whole lot better for Cincinnati. They did shoot 45% from the field, 23% from three. But again, Baba Miller and Mustafa Cham, they get 38 points between the two of them. And your other three starters combined have 14 points, including Day 0 that we already discussed, Jizzle 6, and Buck Harris is 8. Outside of that, it felt like they played uninspired. They didn't look like they wanted to win. They didn't take care of the ball. They had horrendous passes all night. It looked like they were telegraphing a lot of stuff. It didn't seem that anybody outside of Baba Miller could drive to the hoop.
Right.
They just simply didn't. I don't know. It couldn't be that it wasn't there because Arizona State has the worst defense in the conference. Statistically, the worst. You should have been able to find something, anything. Right. And you've got guards who can dribble, but they just don't.
In the first, I mean, they were hanging in there, and it felt like okay at halftime. They kind of weathered a little bit how they were playing in the first half. So you felt like, you had a chance at halftime. They were right in it, despite not playing their best ball. And you just felt like if they could find that spark, and instead, it just went the other way. I mean, the play that probably epitomized the entire road trip for UC was you're down 6 and you got a breakaway layup and miss it. And you got two guys there, and one of them sticks it back and misses that, and it goes for a layup the other way. So what would have been a 4-point game is an 8-point game, and from there it just, snowballed a little bit on them. But that's how they've been playing. It's maddening. And as much as we all want to point every finger at Wes, and he certainly deserves a lot of it, I can't explain some of this poor shooting we're seeing. I mean, it's terrible. And maybe some of that is just, it starts at the top. I don't know.
Well, you were 5 of 14 from layup against Arizona State. Your turnover percentage was 21.7%. That's terrible.
Yeah.
To be turning it over more than one of every 5 possessions.
And that's bothered me from the get-go with this current staff. And I don't know. I haven't gone back and looked at the statistics, but I bitch about turnovers all the time, and I feel like I've been doing that nonstop since they got here. Now, I could be wrong, but it just feels like every game I go to, I sit there and at some point, and I do grumble about turnovers a lot, but it drives me nuts. I mean, that's the number one thing on offense is to take care of the ball.
We saw Kirk Risa get some minutes in this one. He only got 1 minute against Arizona, and then he was out again. But against Arizona State, he got 10 minutes. He had 5 points. Keyshawn Tillery had 3 points in his 8 minutes. With the way that Day and Jizzle are playing with, 57 minutes combined in this game, you almost wonder, should you give Keyshawn Tillery and Kirk Risa a lot more minutes?
Well, and that's I understand why you wouldn't have done that by design going into these games, right? In the Arizona after what you saw at Iowa State. But you also knew Jizzle and Day weren't always going to be that hot. And if they're not performing, you got to give the other guys a little more run and see if it's their night. And I don't know that you see that. Now, Tillery's the one that missed that stick back I was talking about. But still, I understand what you're saying. And yes, I'm a big believer in the hot hand, and I'm not sure we do that enough.
Well, I was going to ask, I mean, it at times feels like minutes were almost by design.
Yes.
Like they sub guys in and out based on what has been planned and discussed before the game, and they stick to it like it's the letter of the law. At least that's how it feels. I don't know that to be the case, but it feels like that.
Right. I mean, it's like the old Mike Tyson saying, game plans are great until you get in the ring and take a punch right in the face, and then the game plan's out the window. Well, that's how it is in war and everything else. I mean, yeah, you game plan all that, but how many times do you think football coaches change what they think they're going to do on these scripted plays and game plans, and the other team's doing something else, or a guy gets hot, or a guy's not playing as well as he should be on that day? That stuff happens, and you've got to be able to feel it and adjust it to be a great coach. And I don't see that happening. I don't know how you get there, but I just know that it is your job to figure out who's the best on that day and get them the run they should have. And yes, I understand you want to keep guys fresh. I get all that, but these are also guys in their athletic prime who can recover pretty quickly.
So now you have a home game tomorrow night against Baylor. And I guess the good news is that it's a home game because you have not won on the road at all this entire season. You've not won a true away game. You've not won a neutral site game. The only games that you have won have been home games. So we'll see. You've got the return of Dan Skillings. So maybe there's something there. I don't know. That's at least a storyline. And Jalen Celestine playing his old team as well. So maybe there's something there. But outside of that, if I didn't have to watch this game for work, I don't know that I would even waste the time to watch it, George. 6:30 tip. I don't love that. I actually hate that. But
yeah, me too. I'm glad you reminded me of that too. I would have been a half hour late.
But it's just I don't know where you go from here. I don't know at what point it's okay to be done with coach. I know we mentioned that, or at least Chad's mentioned that it's abnormal to fire a coach before the end of the season, like as you get closer to the end of the season.
But it's not the norm. And then
I don't know
takes over.
Right. I don't know. Do you really gain anything by firing him today as opposed to later on when the buyout's potentially lower? If he is willing to negotiate, or if it's a hard no, you have to wait until the deadline of April 1st. We'll see. I don't know. But you've got Baba Miller now getting another technical. This is his third or fourth of the season. It's his second in 3 games against Arizona State. So it feels to me, and I brought this up to Chad on the aftermath, it feels to me that some of the turmoil that may or may not be going on in the locker room is spilling out onto the court. You've got frustration as you've now mounted your 10th loss. You're 10-10, sitting at 500. It looks to me, from an outsider looking in, that you've got a guy who has NBA aspirations getting pissed off because he's putting up 23 points in a game that you're getting your ass kicked by Arizona State.
Yeah, and I think isn't that like 2 of those in the last 2 games, or
two in the last 3 for him?
2 in the last 3, and then Chom had 1 too. And I don't like that stuff, but I understand he's frustrated. He should be. I mean, he was pretty good in those games, and in fact, he was all UC had at times in those games. So I understand the frustration, but you can't be doing some of the thing he did at Arizona State. You can't be doing that. And it ultimately, if I remember right, led to him fouling out, right? Like, didn't he? He fouled out.
He did foul out. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's another thing that points to the whole coaching scenario here, and does he have control of this thing?
It doesn't.
It doesn't look like it at times.
At least doesn't look good.
And unfortunately, I've been feeling that way and saying that. And I've been saying it a lot since early in the season. I felt that way with some of the shot selection and turnovers and things guys would do. And there just seemed to be no repercussions for it when it comes to playing time, or sit your butt on the bench for a little bit and let's reassess what we're doing out there when we got the ball.
So I don't know what the answer is. I just know that right now everything looks bad. The game itself looks bad. The way the players are carrying themselves. Like it didn't look like they. At some point, it looked like they gave up against Arizona towards the end of the game, where I felt that their back was against the wall, and I didn't know that giving up in that game was necessarily the worst thing, because it didn't feel like they were getting any calls whatsoever for Arizona. But against Arizona State in the second half, it just looked like their give a damn ran out.
You hate to say that, and I hate to think that, but the result is what it is, and it didn't look good. Did not look good at all, and we'll see tomorrow night how they come out and play, because that's a team that's been struggling too, and they give up I watched them on Saturday a little bit against TCU, and they gave up a ton of points in that game. And I think, they've struggled in league play. They're 1-6, I guess. So they're ripe for the taking, but we'll see how UC comes out and play. But I'll tell you, and any hopes, think about where we were a week ago and coming off that Iowa State game and thinking, okay, there's a chance, even if you play well against Arizona and lose a close game, and then go to Arizona State and play well and win and get back here, 2-1, and that 3-game stretch would give you some hope that things can turn around and things can change. But they went out there and laid a hell of an egg that I don't see them recovering from. I mean, it's to me, we're watching it play out, and it's time to start maybe thanking the college basketball gods that there is a portal, and when there is a coaching change, you can bring in 15 new guys if that's what you need to do.
I don't know that you're going to really be able to bring anybody back. I'd love to see a couple of these guys back, but I don't know what the future holds.
I would think Tyler McKinley would be a guy that would be a target that you would think would be interested in coming back with the right hire and the right situation. But we'll see what UC does. I mean, I guess the consensus is there will be a change, but until it happens,
we'll see.
There's no way, right?
Don't say that.
I don't see a way out of this.
We will switch gears here, though. There's not much in anything with the football team to speak of, really. I know Jeff Caldwell and Corleone are there at the Shrine Bowl tonight. I saw a catch that the UC football team had posted from the Shrine Bowl that Jeff Caldwell had over the middle. Looked like a decent catch for about 20 yards. So and there was a DB draped on him as he made it. So I'd like to see him go out and put out a dominating performance and then crush the combine and be a combine darling and raise his own stock there in the draft. I think that would be great, really fun.
Yep.
I know saw Corleone was in a boot yesterday, so I don't know if he got that mended before today's game or if he's active in today's game or not. But it's on right now.
That whole health thing will be a concern, for teams dealing with him, and that's going to affect his status a lot, I think.
He's still nursing the injury from midseason, I'm sure.
Right. It's just, it's. I think that combined with the other thing, I just think that teams will probably be careful because of that.
Well, time will tell.
He'll get a shot. He'll get a shot.
Yeah. You just hope that it ends up being as successful as Juwan Briggs has been already.
Yeah, gotta love that kid.
But we'll switch gears here. The Cincinnati Bengals. We talked the last couple of weeks about how Zach Taylor was lone man standing in the division. Some of the cards are starting to fall as a guy that we're at least a little familiar with, as his dad was a coach here. But Jesse Minter gets the job in Baltimore. takes a Bearcat with him, by the way, as Mike Mickens. Mike Mickens will be there as the defensive passing coach. Kudos to him getting out of Notre Dame and getting on with the big boys, not having to worry about recruiting anymore and dealing with men instead of college kids. But you also saw Mike McCarthy becomes your new Pittsburgh Steelers coach. I don't know what to make of that.
Safe hire. It's not like an inspiring hire, but
that's not what they do, though. That's not what Pittsburgh does. They don't go safe.
No, they don't. But this guy's from Pittsburgh, so that's kind of,
Aaron Rodgers familiarity.
This guy forever.
There is some Aaron Rodgers familiarity there, so it'll be interesting to see if he ends up back for one more go or not. But it was a strange hire, and then there's lowly Cleveland, who is apparently assigning homework to all of their interview candidates, wanting. If I'm a guy trying to interview for a head coaching job for Cleveland, I don't know that I'm trying to give them everything that they're asking for fear of when I do get a job, are you going to use that information? Because you'd be foolish not to.
Right. Absolutely. And this operation, I mean, I'll get to these other coaches in a minute, but this Cleveland thing, it is a comedy show. First of all, you're the Cleveland Browns, and you have the most screwed up quarterback situation again. That you've been going through this for 20 years, and it's screwed up again. Like, it's not, what are they going to do? I mean, is it going to be Sanders? Is it going to be Gabriel? Is it going to be somebody else?
Just Sean Watson, who's still under contract?
Exactly. Is that going to be in the picture? You traded your opening day starting quarterback to a division rival during the season, not only during the season, fairly early in the season, where there was still a chance for them to do some damage and win the damn division, and you trade him inside the division. So this owner of the Browns, he's a billionaire a million times over, and he's got it by the tail and everything else. He cannot run a football team. I mean, we can't. You keep that general manager, but you fire the coach that everybody in the NFL couldn't wait to get their hands on, because they knew how screwed up the situation in Cleveland is.
First guy,
there was nobody. You draft two freaking quarterbacks in the same draft. One of them Shedeur Sanders, so already you got like a messy quarterback room. Not because of him, but because two rookies, and there's going to be all that hype about him, and you drafted the other guy 3 rounds earlier or 2 rounds earlier.
So also because of him.
Yeah. I mean, not his fault, but yes, because of him. But you're sitting there, and this guy does this. This GM does this. Then he trades Flacco, who I just and Mike Tomlin's reaction was great when that happened, because he was absolutely right. What that guy was thinking. I'm glad he did it. And then you're having these personality tests and all this when you're trying to hire a new coach, and it just looks like a Mickey Mouse show up there. I don't know what they're doing. It is the most, there is nobody that has a similar opportunity. And I know there's only so many head coaching jobs, but look at the guy from Miami. He said, thanks, but no thanks. I'd rather be an offensive coordinator somewhere.
He said, I'm out.
Yeah, he's like, I'll just be an OC somewhere. I don't need to be a head coach in Cleveland, because that you're looking down a cliff on one side and a gorilla on the other ready to eat you alive. I mean, there's no way out. And that's what that job is. You'll be fired in 2 years. So that's just it's good. It's very good for Cincinnati fans, but that is a debacle up there. And they're probably going to end up with their defensive coordinator, Schwartz, taking over as head coach, because that's what they're going to be left with.
it's amazing to me what the mess of that entire Deshaun Watson contract has turned into. And
who would have done that in the first place? I mean, the Houston Texans were like, hallelujah, we found a fool. And they did. It's just unreal to me. I mean, that's this as much guff, deservedly so, as the Bengals and their front office has gotten over the years. This is dysfunction to a whole nother level up there in Cleveland. Now, you go to the other end of the spectrum with Baltimore and what they've done. And it's very interesting. I mean, this Harbaugh connection is just, think about that. John Harbaugh is on Rick Minter's staff at UC. Sees this little ball boy running around. And, 30 years later, that little ball boy replaces him as head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Are you kidding me? How does that happen?
That is absolutely wild.
He works for his brother in Michigan and then out in LA with the Chargers and now takes this job. And it's going to – I'm not a Ravens fan, but my God, I'll be pulling for this kid to do well. I mean, I'm ecstatic about this. I think, Rick's got to be so proud and eating this up. Just this is really, really cool. And now Mike Mickens being there, and it's like, it's enough for someone who was around during the Minter era to, pull for that team to do well. But I still, not above the Bengals, but there's I'm interested to see how he does, and I wish him and Rick and all of them the best up there.
Yeah, there's certainly some heartstrings to be pulled there. Now it'll get even worse if they end up drafting a Bearcat or bringing anybody in via free agency. But we'll
that'll really make it tough. But I think that was a bold move. I think it was it's everyone had this guy targeted, and he kind of shot up the ladder a little bit. But there's a reason he did. So I think that was a great move by the Ravens, and the Steelers will see. You're right. That's not a Steelers-like move when you go to hire a coach, because usually they hire, the young defensive-minded guy like Jesse Minter. He would have been a perfect fit for what the way they've done it for 50 years. But they're going the other route and try to get some, offense going there. And, they got to get a quarterback. And I'm curious to see if Aaron Rodgers will be back for another year. I think he probably will. But they have got to find their long-term solution at quarterback. And that's, they thought they may have had it with Kenny Pickett, but that didn't work out. And they're kind of back to square one with that.
Well, I'm curious to see how this all goes. I'm certainly curious to see what Cleveland ends up doing for their head coach position. We didn't see pitcher go anywhere yet, so we saw Joe Brady end up getting hired by Buffalo. He moves up in their hierarchy.
Right.
And becomes their new head coach, a guy who I know a lot of people were hoping the Bengals would make a move for here, which I don't know how much sense it would make if he's not able to actually make the calls.
Right.
But
he's not going to do that.
Why would he?
Right. Yeah.
Thanks, Zach.
Right. And yeah, I'm telling you, I've swung into your camp on this. I think he needs to give that up. And it doesn't necessarily mean he's bad at it, but it's a lot on a head coach's plate during a game with everything that goes on in these games. I want my head coach, sure, to have a say in all that stuff. Right. I may be the final guy, but I don't want him looking at the play chart all the time when all this other stuff's going on.
There's also a rumor that circulated a couple days ago on the old X that Joe Burrow has apparently been discussed as a trade target for the Minnesota Vikings. The Bengals have at least fielded the call, according to this report. I don't know that I'm buying any of it, but the source close to the Vikings said that the team was prepared to offer J.J. McCarthy, Jonathan Greenard, who's an edge rusher, and multiple first-round picks for Joe Burrow. I don't know that I believe 3 was the amount of first-round picks they were talking. That doesn't even move the needle for me if I'm in the front office. J.J. McCarthy, we saw enough of him this season to know he is not a good quarterback. He could not get Justin Jefferson the ball very much. And they have a decent receiving core up there. 3 first-round picks doesn't move the needle for me for Joe Burrow. And an edge rusher, okay, sure. Still, no, not in. What are we doing?
Well, it's not enough, but I'm sure the Vikings are thinking what a lot of people might be thinking, and that is this guy going to get injured all the time?
Potentially.
Right. That's kind of where, would I make that trade that you just said? Probably not, but I would listen. Call me stupid, I would listen.
Well,
I'm not saying I would do it. I would listen.
I think that is stupid.
I worry about the injury factor. And I know there's nothing he can do. It just some guys get injured a lot.
Yeah, we've seen it we saw it with Tyler Eifert, probably most recently. But we've seen it throughout the years. That said,
a lot of guys that, injuries are huge. And, when you're banking on that guy that much, that's kind of what set Tom Brady apart. Was that guy was almost never injured. The greats.
The one year.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers had now last year or whenever it was, he had that Achilles. But that guy's as old as me. But and they get brittle. Those tendons and ligaments tend to get brittle. But that's why I think a team would think maybe the Bengals are thinking, not let's move on from him, but if we get but the bottom line is you got to have a quarterback in the NFL to be successful. Maybe not a great one, but you have to have a good one. And, a lot of people think Sam Darnold isn't a good one, but when he plays well, he's really good. And now he's in a Super Bowl. And I just, health is a big thing. And it's starting to pile up to where you wonder, is he going to stay healthy? And that's where I would come from. That's why I would field the call.
When Joe Burrow is on, I don't know.
McCarthy is not enough to get back. That would not ease my mind at quarterback. Trust me.
Joe Burrow, when he's on, there's not another quarterback in my mind that is better in the league.
Not better.
You gave him Jamar, you gave him T, you gave him Trey. Even if Trey didn't want to be given, or maybe he did, who knows? I don't see him back. But
no, I don't either.
I don't know. It's a weird thing for that to even. I think this is all just speculative. I can't imagine there's much actual concrete to it. Simply because
I doubt it. I doubt it, but man, that's who. Yeah, I don't even like thinking that way, to be honest with you, because I think of Joe as being a guy that's going to be here another 8 to 10 years, right?
Until he's done. Yeah.
Until you said that, it never entered my mind. But when you sit here and think about the injuries piling up, and what is he? 29, 30 now, 29. He even thought about it. Like when he was talking about, turning 30, and it just, yeah.
George, you've been through rehab. Your mind goes to a lot of dark places when you're going through rehab.
Yes, it does. And I've turned 30 too. And when I was 20, when Joe Burrow had that news conference and said that, I understood exactly where he was coming from, because when I was 29, I did the same thing. And it's like he wasn't having a midlife crisis or anything. It's just like there's certain milestones in your life. You're like, I'll probably never reach that. And then when you're there and it's like, oh my God. And 30 was kind of it for me. 30 bothered me. When I was 59, I didn't worry about turning 60. I didn't care. I felt, but when I was 29 turning 30, I thought I was going to, like, it was over.
40 was even worse for me.
Yeah, 40 is the big one for a lot of people. 40 and 50. For some reason, it was 30 with me.
I was just having kids when I turned 40. Like, I didn't have kids when I was in my, you know what I mean? Like 29, 30, I'm still partying. I was still single.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I don't know what's the best way on that, because I think I would have been much better if I were older, because I had kids in my 20s and I was still partying. It's just like, I don't know if I think I would have been better if I'd been a little older. So I think that's a good thing for you.
But yeah, with Joe, like I said, your mind goes into some dark places when you're going through rehab and you're approaching 30. It's all a weird thing where you're approaching like mortality sets in, essentially.
And I guarantee you, he woke up, because after that, it was like no big deal. I think he woke up the next day and it's like, I feel pretty good. I'm fine. You know, I mean,
the sun came out.
Yeah, I knew. It was crazy when I saw that, and I'm like, damn, I was there. I know what he's thinking, and it does seem like it's kind of not the end of the world, but sort of. I mean, I get it. I really understood where he was coming from then. So I hope everything bounces back, and this year he is leading the Bengals back to the Super Bowl and stays upright, and because he deserves it. He's worked his butt off to come back from these injuries and has played well when he's done it. I think, like you, there's no one better. He processes things so quickly. He does everything well. Is he infallible? No, nobody is. And that, I mean, when you get the view from the quarterback of what's going on and they're throwing these balls into these tight windows, that's above my pay grade.
Well, we're going to switch gears here. I did tell you in our pre-show that we weren't going to discuss anything Reds, and then I remembered that there was something I did want to discuss with the Reds. So this is a little surprise topic for you. But the Enquirer, they had an op-ed this week that infuriated me, if I'm being completely honest. That op-ed was, "It's time for Cincinnati to move on from Castellini's comment." Well, I saw that, and I quote tweeted it, and I said, "Opinion, it's time for the Castellinis and their comments to move on from Cincinnati." What are we doing? I don't know. Every time that Phil Castellini has a microphone in front of him, he somehow manages to get worse. He has opened his mouth and inserted his foot. I don't even know that he's inserted his foot. He doesn't care. There's no filter on that man, and he does not seem to actually know that he's talking to a large audience when he says words.
Boy, you're going to hate me. I'm not saying I totally agree that you can move on if you want to. If you don't, he's got to own that stuff. I have kind of moved on from it myself. I know people, I don't know. I'm too soft on people. I'll just leave it at that. I'm too soft. I always want people to redeem themselves. I want them to, and do I think the Castellinis have been good owners? No. Do I think that they've done right by the baseball team and the fans? You know, they've done some really good things for fans. You got the Hall of Fame. You've got improvements at the ballpark. They stay on top of that stuff. We want wins. The baseball part is what has held them back. And I think there's some true frustration on the family's part with that. I think there's I think they think they're doing the right thing and they don't quite get why it's not working. But it's not working because you pledge 125 million for Kyle Schwarber, but that doesn't apply to anyone else that might help make this team a winner.
Not just to anyone else, but nowhere near that money since you had 120. You haven't spent at this point. You haven't spent anything really, and I understand that there. I saw somebody in our comments from last week mention that Cincinnati is one of the several teams in the MLB that does not currently have any clue what's going on with their TV deal for next season.
Right.
And granted, that's a valid concern for ownership, but figure it out. You've got to figure that out yesterday. Why are you not out ahead of that somehow, some way, figuring it out? And if you can't get through who your provider was beforehand, move on to the next one. You have to have a backup plan. You can't just be inching your way towards opening day and not knowing where the largest portion of your revenue is coming from.
Yeah, so, and my understanding is their projected revenue from what it was a few years ago to now is a lot less for some reason in that regard. And that's a damn shame because that kills them.
But you also should have the MLB working in hand with them to figure this out. They shouldn't necessarily,
without a doubt, because that's where the inequities are in Major League Baseball to begin with, is these broadcast revenues that the Dodgers are getting that no one's ever going to get again.
And the Yankees.
The Yankees get a big one.
Chicago,
the Cubs.
Atlanta.
Toronto does well, I guess. Obviously, the Mets. The Angels, although they haven't done much with theirs.
Atlanta on TBS.
They've got a problem. And I don't think we'll have that lockout and that whole thing people think after this year. But that might be the best thing for the game, is to get this damn thing figured out now and quit kicking the can down the road, because the Reds do get a lot of that luxury tax money. And when I saw the chunk they got from that, I was pissed off about it, because the payroll isn't a hell of a lot more than what they're getting in that luxury tax. So you should be able to go a little higher than what they have been doing.
They are right now, at least a graph I saw earlier today, I believe the number was 42% is what they're reinvesting into the team from the revenue and luxury tax money. They're reinvesting 42% of that into the roster currently. That's not enough to me.
No, it's not.
Especially when you see the teams at the top, the Dodgers, while they're making, I think, number 2 in the maybe number 1. I'm just trying to remember this graph off the top of my head. They were top 5, we'll say. They're reinvesting 75% of the money that they're getting into their roster. Now, granted, they've manipulated the roster with some of the deals they've done, kicking the can down the road with Shohei and some different guys. But they're still reinvesting 75% of that. That's still money that's not going into their pockets.
Right.
Now, again, that's a higher number, so you're taking a larger percentage of a higher number. So you're still taking home. I don't remember off the top of my head how that actual number compared to what the Reds number was.
Now, that would be interesting to see.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're still, that's 75% versus 42%. That's a dramatic difference.
It is. Percentage-wise, yes, it is. Dollar-wise, they're probably still taking home more, right?
If you're making more, that makes sense, though.
Yeah. But I think there's still payroll room that they could extend. And who am I to say? I don't see the books, but just based what I've seen reported, that is what I believe to be reputable. And there's high overhead in baseball too, though. You're taking care of a lot of things. Maybe I wouldn't love to see those books, but I would love to, because there's a lot of, you're paying a shit ton of people when you run a baseball franchise. You are paying a lot of people. And, they restructured the minor leagues to kind of streamline that. So it's not such a high expense on major league teams. But yeah, they definitely need to do better. I think they could spend a little more money. Again, I'm not a Castellini. I don't know the inside numbers, but they could go sign Austin Hayes now if they wanted to, or Andujar right now if they wanted to. They might even be able to do a deal with Eugenio Suarez if they wanted to. I don't know if that's the best thing for the team. I mean, you could park him at first base and DH, but then you got Steer, you got Sal Stewart, you got Ke'Bryan Hayes over at third. Like, what do you do? Does that fit the team? But they do have, I think, some wiggle room to land another player that will help them offensively because Lord knows they need it.
They're just stubborn as an old mule, George.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but I mean, that poor Phil has taken a lot of grief, and I know he probably didn't expect that reception he got over at X a couple of weeks ago. Can you imagine? He had to think this is going to be a friendly crowd, and then they do that.
We talked about it last week. Yeah,
I know. I laughed about it then, and I'm still laughing about it. I mean, yeah, he needs to move that job to somebody else to be the front man.
Yeah, well, he lives to fight another day. I just thought it was a funny article to post in the Empire.
I hope they figure it out. I mean, after this many years, you'd say it's not going to, but I don't know. They do good things for the fans, and their community fund has done some really good things. And you can't drive down a road and not see a field that hasn't been renovated because of that community fund and all the things they do. And they do a lot of good stuff with the hospitals and all that. And I know that doesn't translate to wins on the field, but to me, they don't get the wins, but I think they've been a pretty damn good community partner.
Well, I will play devil's advocate, and I will say that I'd imagine anybody in their position would probably do the same in the community. So,
yes, but it should still be appreciated.
Fair enough. Switching gears one last time, FC Cincinnati. They played a game 4 days ago. Just a preseason game because their season just doesn't stop. They were just playing a game, the championship.
Yeah, they did just 2 months ago or less.
Yes, it seems like it was very, very recently. That said, though,
they're going to play that kind of half season next year and then start again in July or whatever. I mean,
so stupid.
It does make sense from it. It'll be painful for a while, but it will make sense, I think, in the long run.
They tied 1-1, a draw, I suppose, against New England 4 days ago, and then they have another preseason game. I think it's tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow against Houston.
Preseason is underway. The preseason scores, without going to Twitter, were a little difficult to find. Why they don't put them on, the regular ESPN scoreboard, I don't know. Because soccer, I suppose. But that season right around the corner. So we'll keep you on tabs there. But George, what you got going on in high school basketball before we start to wrap things up here?
Yeah, we had the big match between Lakota West and Mason on Friday, and you talk about your rock fights. I mean, you remember when Mick was head coach and UC would play Pitt and it'd be like 44-42 final.
I'd kill for I'd kill for those
I
rock
would
fights
too.
right now.
I would too. Believe me, I would. A win is a win is a win. Lakota West got the win, 38-26. So that is your ultimate high school.
Yuck.
38-26. So Lakota West now 15-1, and that one win coming to that prep school out of Indiana. Princeton 13-1. Muller beat St. X, and they're 12-2. Winton Woods still undefeated in Division II. Wyoming still undefeated in Division IV, and in Kentucky, CovCaf continues to roll, 19-1 now. Highlands, who lost to CovCaf a week ago, 17-2, and Holy Cross 15-4, and I think Chad's boys are 13-4. They're having a good season.
All right. Well, anything else that you wanted to get out of the way here?
No, I do think it's I just read an article right before we signed on about the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and maybe Ken Anderson gets in this year. Maybe we'll find out February 5th.
Finally,
but I know that is long overdue.
Better than Dan Fouts.
But what's crazy? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. I mean, it's and there were a lot of Bengals teams that he quarterback that were this close to beating the Steelers when they were in their heyday and going to the playoffs as opposed to Pittsburgh. I mean, he was really good, and I think he'll be a Hall of Famer. But what's weird is somehow it leaked out tonight, Bill Belichick got knocked off the ballot. So he will not be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Absolutely crazy.
That is so insane. I mean, I don't care what he's doing now or what kind of pain in the ass he was for the media. Come on.
Was it
6
that?
Super Bowl wins?
Was it the cheating? Was it what Robert Kraft was doing to get around the salary cap with paying Tom Brady, investing in Tom Brady's company? Who knows?
But the guy won 6 Super Bowls, lost, 3, and won 2 others as a defensive coordinator.
Or maybe it was that Tom Brady left him and he couldn't figure it out without Tom Brady, and everybody saw him as just a mediocre coach without a Tom Brady when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay and then still won a Super Bowl.
And I think that's a lot of it. But ultimately what it is he's probably responsible for the current malaise of the Cleveland Browns being so crappy because they were really crappy when he was there. Hey, if Belichick couldn't fix the Browns, nobody can.
Well, we're even seeing right now that he's not a good coach in college. Whatever is going on, and granted, it's a whole different animal.
I mean, he's collapsed his reputation with this whole. I mean, it's just
that and his relationship.
That's what I'm saying. That thing is just ridiculous. You can't have that Trixie prancing around on the field in go-go boots an hour before the game. You can't. You're a college football head coach. She's on
staff or something.
It's just insane.
It's weird.
That's like, I mean, I'm telling you, this dude was in walls like this for too long in an office coaching and then out on the field and back in an office. And he got 1 year of retirement where he wasn't coaching. And he's like, oh, all this is going on out. I can do this. Okay. And North Carolina was silly for hiring him. That was a silly hire.
Yeah, it's not looking too good right now.
Well, they got hoodwinked.
But all right. I don't think I have anything. I had something else in my head, and then you got me sidetracked with the Bill Belichick stuff. So I don't know.
All right, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Don't apologize. That was probably funnier. So
okay.
In any case,
funny is I'm drinking blue liquid. I don't ask.
Scope.
Yeah. I'm going to need it after drinking this.
All right, that's going to wrap things up for us here. Thanks for those of us who joined us live. Thanks, Crypt Keeper, in the chat. But we will be back here next week. Thanks to Remington Tavern for sponsoring the show. Thanks to Cincy Light for sponsoring the studios. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Check them out on Instagram at RemyTavCincy or follow them on Facebook. But for George Vogel, I'm Aaron Smith. We'll be back here next week at 9 p.m. to discuss all of your Cincinnati sports.
Thank you, Aaron.